Hey, this is Tom Calvin. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as Tomorrow's Legends.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
Welcome everyone to a gathering of old friends, of colleagues, and of podcast superheroes. We're going to bring on an end to this year with some discussion on what the state of all the DC superhero shows is, where they may be going, and what we thought are their most recent seasons. It's been a while since we've all gotten to hang out since the last crossover event, and thought it would be fun to spend some holiday time together with all of our listeners and each other. So sitting in at the Justice League Roundtable, we have the Green Butterfly and the Silver Vox from the Maid of Steel for Supergirl. We've got X-Force 11 from Gotham Undercover. And we got Harley Quinn and myself, the Flash, from Tomorrow's Legends, which also covers Stargirl. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Hi.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, same to everyone out there.
Happy holidays.
I was trying to think, when was actually the last time we hung out? Like, has it been over a year?
Since the crossover.
Yes.
Crisis on
Almost a
Infinite
year to
Earths.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
December
Oh, wow.
9 through 12 last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. I mean, we're seriously lacking in superhero TV right now. It's been a long time.
I know.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We're just gonna, like we said, just gonna talk about all the shows, our feelings and thoughts, where it might be going, and see what's coming for us. So why don't we just get right into it? We'll talk about the Flash first, because I think that's one that we all watch. Nobody's actually podcasting about it, so I thought that'd be a good one to start with, so we can all get our feelings on. Let's talk about the Flash. How did everyone feel about this last season?
I think for me, it was kind of a mixed bag. I like aspects of it, but some aspects kind of drug a little bit. It's going to be really interesting to see how they finish up last season with the first couple eps, and then how they take us in and bring in new villains and things like that. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to close out those storylines and get us hyped up for what's going to happen in this season.
It really was a season of two halves, like literally.
Yeah.
And I found the first half to be intriguing, but I was never really kind of bought in with the big bad. I don't even remember his name. Something blood
Work or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
blood work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I found the second half to be really, really engaging. And out of all of our shows, I really felt like The Flash was the one that took Crisis seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And had the ramifications I was hoping for, had the after effects that really needed to happen across the universe. And I felt like it was just kind of skipped over otherwise.
Right.
Batwoman dealt with it briefly. Supergirl to a degree, only with Lex. But I feel like The Flash really embraced it, and I was disappointed that our other shows really didn't. So.
Yeah. Well, did Legends even touch on it? I don't even know. Like if we
Probably not.
Yeah,
I mean,
not that I recall.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we really did. We probably mentioned it, I mean, as usual Legends fashion. So,
Yeah, I mean, for me, The Flash, where I've been feeling let down with Flash is it's supposed to be the new lead show since Arrow has ended, and I just feel like it hasn't grabbed the reins and taken charge of the Arrowverse to be the lead show. It just seems like the writing has gotten tired, is a good way to describe it to me. I find their seasons have been slipping little and little each time, and I think hopefully, I guess we'll get to this in a little bit, but with the new season coming forward, it's finding the right villain that can carry a season. And I think Flash was always better when they had one main villain that really took all the season all the way through, versus trying to mix it up and bring in different bad guys that last 2 or 3 episodes. And So I mean, this whole mirror universe thing, it didn't feel threatening enough to me. And that, and then dealing with Flash and losing, the Speed Force is sick and then it dies and he's losing his speed slowly. I mean, I don't know. How do you, a show about a hero that runs super fast and he's constantly losing his power, or someone else is constantly being shown to be faster and better than him at his own ability? And it's like, come on, this is 6 seasons in now. Flash should be I expect him to be at a higher level, a higher peak in his super heroic abilities. And I feel like Barry should be a lot more intelligent. He should step up as a true leader by now. And I just find they're like holding him back. And that's what's bothering me.
I'm super thankful for X-Force for helping us figure out the timeline, because this season of Flash left me kind of just confused on where we were going. And like you said, revisiting Barry continuously having problems with his speed, which is something we've already seen before. So I think the thing that I'm most interested for of Flash going forward is I think that the way they've set this up for Iris in the Mirror Universe could be an interesting storyline for her on how she could get out of it. So that's the part of Flash that I'm most interested in at the moment is, can Iris get herself out of the situation that she's in?
Yeah, I agree with Justina. That's kind of what I was kind of vibing with, I guess, like throughout the entire Flash season. I found it really interesting with Iris kind of in the Mirrorverse and just kind of like exploring some different aspects there and just trying to see where we were ultimately going to go with the Mirror Master. And so I'm looking forward to getting that kind of fleshed out going into the next season. It was kind of like hit or miss with like the Speed Force thing with the Speed Force dying. I wasn't too crazy about that, although because I love the actor, I didn't really mind Bloodwork. I thought he was kind of interesting, but anytime I just really like that actor, so it was kind of nice just to be able to have him on my TV screen again.
Yeah, well, let's catch up with Iris. I can't even remember, did she get out finally at the end to find out that she has an evil doppelganger taking her place right now, or is she still in the mirror?
No, she's still in the Mirror.
Yeah. She's still in the Mirror Universe.
Okay, yep. But she found out there's a doppelganger out there now, didn't she? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so did Barry. And so they got rid of that version of Iris, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure the Mirror version is gone.
Well, and Cisco's girl came into the Mirror Universe with Iris, but I think we left it off that she was hurt or killed, or what? Am I imagining that?
Yeah, so this is kind of a refresher for everybody because we've been away from her for so long.
It's been a while since I've watched it.
I don't know. I'm definitely going to go refresh the last few episodes before we get back into it.
Yeah. Well, the one big thing I remember about the last episode is when they did that comic book style split screen where they had all the different, kind of like what we're looking at on our Zoom screen right now. They had all the different comic panels and something was happening in each panel. It was something they'd never done before, and it looked pretty cool. It looked like you're watching a comic book come to life, but at the same time, the stuff that was going on, and some of it was a little bit, I don't know. It didn't come across as smooth and clean as it could have, I think, but it was still a neat effect that they did to kind of give us a live comic book, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward once they get kind of past those first couple episodes of them really bringing in Godspeed as a villain and addressing Barry's speed issues, because I think we have yet to see in this universe Barry being the originator of the Speed Force and really making it happen so that, him being there gives other speedsters their powers. So there's got to be some type of breakthrough. And so I'm looking forward to a speed villain kind of forcing that breakthrough of him getting his powers back. So I'm interested to see how that works and what dynamic they bring with that.
Yeah, well, that's a good start into our next point. Is what are your expectations and hopes for the seventh season? So let's take that around the table. I'm with you, Jeff. I think seeing how they're going to fix that, because weren't they also talking about trying to create a not fake isn't the right word, but a
artificial speed.
There you go. Yeah. Artificial Speed Force. I thought that was an intriguing idea, but where would that come from? Because from the stories in the comic books, Barry Allen generates a Speed Force every time he runs. So if they could play onto that, if they create this artificial one that's generated from him, then that would tie into the original comic book stories, which I think would be really cool. So I'd like to see how they do that. And I also heard that Eobard is supposed to return this season and play a bigger role again, which, I mean, hands down, Flash season 1 with Eobard was their best season ever, and he's one of the greatest villains we've ever had on any of these shows. So if they bring him in to wrap this season up, I think that just immediately brings, a sense of urgency and a huge impact to the Flash, and might bring it back to being on top again. So, and that talking about creating the Speed Force, maybe Eobard, because do we know if he's losing his speed too? We don't know. So maybe he is, and maybe he comes into it and says, hey, man, like, I don't want to lose my speed. I need it too. And maybe he figures something out.
He's able to build his own, because that was the whole thing that he did with Nora. So he was able to build the negative Speed Force, if you will. So we know he has the capability. Yeah. So that could definitely come into play. So. And
I think he's smarter than Barry is anyway right now for figuring that kind of stuff out. So.
Yeah, but he didn't have Chester Monk.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they dangled him at the end of the 5th season, and then we never got a payoff for that. That's what I've been looking for.
Cool. Well, Justina, what do you think? What are you hoping for this next season?
I would like. I always like whenever they're able to bring back King Shark or Gorilla Grodd, because they're my favorite villains. So I'm interested in Godspeed because I don't know anything about him, but boy, would I love a special episode with one of those guys, because even though we've seen them before, every time they use them, I just feel like they're larger than life and just a lot of fun for a comic book show.
Yeah, I mean, that you can't get any more true comic book feel than that when you have a villain like that, where it's it's so much fun. And Gorilla Grodd, I think, should be a bigger part of Flash's storyline, as he always was. So yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be fun to see them for sure. But Godspeed, I mean, what do we? Because Godspeed's a fairly recent villain, even in the comic books too. He's one of the newest speedsters, right? So.
Yeah, they made that point at DC Fandom, which I think is really cool for people that are reading the comics now, like the new run of comics, and maybe didn't read the older ones, that they now get one of their villains come to our show, as opposed to pulling from some of the older books. Because at DC Fandom, they said that his comics are much newer, so his fans are much younger readers.
Right.
So I think that'll be cool for them.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know a lot about it myself, so it'd be neat to learn.
And cool for us, because it'll be fresh and new for us as well, because we don't know that much about him, like you said.
Yeah, and they can pretty much write what they want too, like, because he is new and not everybody knows about him.
The story's being written right now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Cool. John, Jess, what about you guys? What are you hoping for?
I would just like them to... I know this sounds bad. I want Iris to be well-rounded and be a wholly fleshed-out character, but I feel like we're spending just accessory amount of time on things like the Citizen and things of that nature. And I agree. The tighter they can make the storyline and bring everybody from the team in on what's happening, at the crisis at the moment, I think is when the Flash works the best. And so I don't want to shortchange Iris or her character or any of that, which I know is of primary concern to Candace Patton. But I am just hoping that we won't spend a ton of time trying to justify things that are happening kind of outside of the team. I don't know if that makes sense. So we just seem to be getting a little bit bogged down in that.
Yeah, it's almost kind of fracturing the storylines. I see what you're saying. I mean, we're kind of having the same problem over on Legends. Like, I mean, during our rewatch, we've noticed that all of the storylines, while they were like had pockets of people doing distinctly separate things, the overall story still flowed together. And I feel like Flash is probably doing a little bit better job of that than Legends is right now. But I agree with you. Like, if we could get the team kind of a little bit more like back together, I think that would be good. I am also really curious what they're going to do with like how they're going to handle the whole thing with Hartley Sawyer. I mean, I guess I just need like a super plausible explanation as to why Ralph Dibny has to be in a completely different form, because they're not getting rid of the character of Ralph Dibny, but they obviously fired Hartley Sawyer. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to do there. So I'd like a nice plausible explanation as to why Ralph Dibny is forced to change forms.
Yeah, because he has to wear a different face.
This whole season had long amounts of departure for Daniel Panabaker and for Carlos Valdez and for Jesse Warren and or Jesse Martin. Like, we had these long periods of time where these folks weren't around, and so the cohesion of the story and what really worked of making all these folks come together and working well was unfortunately taken away for most of this season. And so I'd really love to kind of get back to that of, okay, everybody's in the same room, we're doing the same thing. Joe comes in and completes the police bit, and we keep going from there. So
definitely
let's get back to that kind of tight team of there at Star Labs is what I'm.
That is a really good point, John. Yeah, I totally forgot to acknowledge that there are so many characters. I mean, Joe West with his his bad back, and Caitlin was pregnant in real life. Like, there was a lot of things I didn't even think about that there's, these actors weren't available. So it made the season feel very disjointed because they had to write around that. But that's actually made me think of the next point too, because wasn't there rumors flying even up to 2 seasons ago that Carlos was leaving the show, and then Danielle Panabaker was leaving the show, and yet they've been here throughout. I thought they were done. Do you guys remember those rumors?
There's always rumors. Yeah. I think people were just speculating because of the types of storylines they were getting, and they were just kind of like minimizing the characters and kind of pushing them off to the side. Yeah. And so I think they've tried to kind of reinvigorate their storylines, although you can argue they've not reinvigorated Cisco's at all. I think taking away Vibe was a huge mistake, but
yeah, his character's been struggling.
Yeah, I think they've done a decent job with Frost. I've been relatively, invested in kind of where that was going. But I'm not so sure where Cisco's going. He was off being Indiana Jones for like half the season.
Yeah.
So,
well, and what about Wells? I mean, we're going into our 7th season. Can they bring in yet another Wells? I mean, it almost feels like that well has run dry. Because
but we ended up still with Nash. Crisis consolidated everybody into Nash. Wells, right?
Okay, so it will be Nash going forward then. And I'm not sure if he's my favorite. Again, they didn't flesh him out enough. They had a bit of a story with his daughter there going, and I'd like to see a bit more depth thrown into that. But I think he was also kept very shallow and didn't get past the surface much for his storytelling as well. And we discuss this on Legends all the time, Jester. Like you said, we're going through our rewatch right now in season 2. And the difference is the size of the cast. And all of these shows are struggling from adding more character syndrome. And now the story has to be split up so much between everybody that you don't get a nice dedicated storyline between 2 or 3 of the characters per episode. Now all 7 people have to get a tiny little bit. And I think the Flash suffers from that as well. So we need, if we can, like John said, tighten everything up. And I think that's cast-wise as well. Tighten it up. Get back to a small core team. And the writing will just automatically become better and flow better, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. It comes back February 23rd.
That's right.
It does. So Flash returns February 23rd. So, quick question here. Do you guys think season 7 will be its last? With all the other shows getting canceled, I mean, we'll talk about them as they come up, but is this the last for Flash, or are they going to, because I think they're all coming up to the end of the contracts.
I don't think so. I think it continues on from here. So
okay.
They need the longevity. They know Supergirl is coming off the table, and they want to bring on, some other things, but they're going to need the consistency that the Flash brings. They're going to need the consistency of the audience that the Flash brings.
Yeah.
And so I see it, at least into season 8, unless things just really start to fall apart or Grant doesn't want to do it anymore. Or kind of like when Steven said, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of waiting to take their lead from Grant to say, okay, yeah, I'm fully invested. I'm fully on board. Let's get this done. Or no, I'm out. I'm done. So
how would they write Flash off? How would they end the show? That to me is a mystery. I mean, because they kind of already did Crisis and Barry's still here.
They already did Crisis.
So how else do you get rid of Barry Allen now unless he just retires and Wally West takes over? I don't know.
Eobard finally takes him out.
Yeah, it's a completely change of the story. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. Interesting to think. But
Yep.
So how about a fun question then? Going over the course, we can talk about just this most recent season, but over the entire history of The Flash. We've all got our favorite characters, so who would you pick out of The Flash? Who's really stuck with you all this time? Jess.
Cisco.
Oh, Cisco? Justina says Cisco, yeah?
Yep.
Even with his lack of storyline, you're still hanging on to him?
Well, I that just makes me want him to come back more because I missed him. I felt his absence. So that just solidified that he is my favorite.
Yeah.
So I'd like him to have more story. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he was a fan favorite from the very beginning. And that's why we're all upset that his story is kind of taking a stand on the side there. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I would say. I mean, I've enjoyed some of the Wells characters, and some of them I've just been But I think I'd like to see the original Wells, the one that Eobard first went back and stole the powers when he did that little thing in the mouth and took over his body. I would love to somehow, whatever with Flash always changing timelines, to go back and we get the original Wells to be involved with the team. Because that Wells seemed like, remember the scenes you saw him on the beach with his wife and he wanted to, he was so excited about building the facility with her. I mean, there's something there. There's something wonderful about that Wells that we never got to know. And I would love to see that.
That'd be cool.
For me, I'd say Caitlin and Killer Frost because I just liked the fact that we've gotten a redemption for this character that was evil and given the reasoning why she is two people and giving some thought. So I'm glad that they're going to dwell on her storyline some in this new season. But I really appreciate what she brings to the team and kind of the journey that she's been on the last couple seasons, discovering that she can choose to be, give over control and not, be afraid of that, and how she can, both sides to her can add to the depth of the team.
Yeah, and Caitlin looks absolutely amazing, or I should say Danielle looks amazing when she's in the Killer Frost outfit with the eyes and the color of the hair. I love that look. If she stayed Killer Frost, I'd be okay with that for sure. She's just cool. She plays those. I mean, she's innocent and quiet and kind of reserved, Caitlin, but when she becomes Killer Frost, Danielle just really brings out a whole new performance, and it's fun to watch.
Jess, what do you think?
I don't know. It's hard for me to pick a favorite because I kind of go back and forth depending on the season on a lot of different things. Since you guys kind of all picked the main cast, I'm gonna go with a villain, and probably not the one you think. I'm gonna go with Zoom. I really enjoyed. What is that actor's name? I cannot quite remember that. He was such a good performance once you kind of like figure out who he is. So I'll go with Zoom. I liked that season. I liked that villain's arc. It had a kind of an odd ending, but it was pretty solid all the way around. So we got to see Earth 2 that season. There was a lot of things that they introduced in that season, and it was good.
Yeah.
Teddy Sears.
Teddy Sears there.
I would love to see and go back to a lot more interaction between Joe and Barry. Like, to me, that was the heart of season one, their father and son exchanges, and that's something I've really been missing from a lot of the later seasons.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm with both you guys on that too. Yeah, and what do you think about Barry being a forensic scientist and being out work? I mean, does he still work for the police department? Do we want to see more of that if he is?
It's nice to have a reminder that he has a day job, I guess.
Because I mean, it used to be fun. I mean, he still does that in the comic books, and I just think it was fun when they show up at the crime scene and he's trying to figure things out, and him and Joe are down on one knee looking at the crime, and then they look over their shoulders. Oh, quick! Can you just do the super thing and whatever? I mean, it used to be fun. So again, that's Joe and Barry interaction, and it'd be fun to see him actually using his brain a little bit more. So. Well, so you mentioned villains, Jess. I mean, let's talk about villains. Who would we like to see this season? I think for me, the fact that Eobard is rumored to come back, that to me is exciting because he is the best we've ever had. And if they could bring, and now whether it would be the Harrison Wells looking Eobard, or they bring what's the actor back that played the blonde?
Matt Letcher.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, Matt Letcher. That way, if he could, either version, I wouldn't care. It'd be awesome to bring him back because we're going through season 2 of Legends right now, and he's on there, and it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot how wicked and evil he is, and he just brings. There's a whole sense of fear that comes with him, and I think that would just bring some heavy weight back to Flash if he got to be here. So.
Yes, Eobard, hands down. Yeah. That is who I want to see.
Agreed.
Yep.
I mean, can you imagine Eobard working with Godspeed to team up or something? Jeez.
That would be awesome.
All right. Well, if any more points want to be said about Flash, we can move on. Good to go. Good to go. Let's talk about Supergirl, and we'll kind of let John and Justina take the lead here. I'm not sure. Are you watching X-Force?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, then the three of you can take the lead. I'll ask the questions, and you guys can kind of fill us in, and we'll chime in when we can, Jess.
I will be very quiet. I'm sorry.
Well, let's talk about this last season because I only have heard a few things as to what's gone on. I know there's a lot of stuff with Lex Luthor and all that. So tell us what you guys felt about this last season of Supergirl.
Green Butterfly, take it away.
I thought it was a really good season. The thing that is interesting is we've started our fan favorite rewatch just like you're doing for Legends, except for not doing every single episode in a season. And cool. It is unfortunately showing how much stronger the early seasons were, but I still found it a really enjoyable season because you just get to that point where it's just about the characters, and you're there for the characters, and you're showing up for the characters. So, so I would give this season like a B grade overall because I did get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But watching the early seasons, unfortunately, has shown some light on what I miss from those seasons compared to season 5. But I'm just crossing my fingers, my toes, my wings, everything to make sure that we get the best season 6 ever.
Yeah, Jess is nodding her head like crazy. We totally can relate and understand that we're watching.
We're feeling that on Legends.
Yeah, just going through the rewatch and seeing how strong it was in the beginning. Yeah, I totally get you there. John, what about you? And then maybe you can also add in like what has happened on this season, kind of catch us up a little bit too.
Yeah. So yeah, we've seen a real evolution in the relationship between Kara / Supergirl and Lena Luthor, and the secret finally has come out that Kara is Supergirl, and to watch Lena walk through the progression of anger for being held back from that secret to planning out her ultimate plan of making sure that she can take out the part of people that wants to hurt each other. And so walking through that scientific experiment that she was going through to, coming back around and realizing that she needs the team and all that. So this was one of the taglines for this season was the battle for Lena's soul. Was she going to turn evil or was she going to be good and that kind of a thing? And so I think we have that settled. Like Lena's in a good space right now. Okay. So that's a good thing. We saw James leave this season halfway through.
Oh, wow.
Decide to go and be a local newspaper chief editor, type thing. So that storyline has been settled. We have seen the development of a couple of new characters, Andrea Rojas and William Day, and Andrea has taken over Catco and basically turned it into a tabloid, type of news publication. And William is a reporter who's also sort of has a love interest with Kara, and we're hoping that he gets hit by a bus.
He's not bringing a lot to the table, is what we're saying.
Okay.
So we've got, we've had some development with that, and the whole theme of the season basically is technology gone too far, right? Are we becoming victims of the technology that we're creating? So from that standpoint, I personally felt like season 5 was so much of a step above season 4, so I was thrilled. So we a lot of the feedback we got was that season 5 was just as, to a lot of folks, just as bad as season 4. I thought it was a totally different level of bad. But I actually really enjoyed this season and felt like it explored some of those themes maturely, and it wasn't, from my standpoint, wasn't a beating over the head of social justice issues and, cramming the creators' politics down our throats to get their message in, kind of a thing. It really did. I thought it was a mature discussion that looked at a lot of different sides of the issue and played with it well. I really did. And so, but I'm in total agreement with Justina. I think they've got to pull out all the stops and just make this a really dynamic and huge season 6.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say like the season 4. Isn't it weird how every single DC show, their 4th season has been the worst? Legends, Arrow, now Supergirl. And Flash, what is going on with season 4? What happens to the writing?
Well, hope for better a start.
Yeah, but it's a curse, I swear. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to Supergirl and Lena working together in this season, really exploring a Super and a Luthor that are on the same team working together, and how is that going to change this, prime Earth that we're now on, as opposed to them being, diametrically opposed and being set up that way. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting to see how Jean can play into what's going on. I really think he was that character in the beginning that was the Joe West type character, but the dad of the series, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen with him and what his motivation and drive is going to be. So I'm wanting to see a little more of him in this season and him taking some mentor role there. So those are things that I really want to see in this season.
Yeah, and Martin and Jess, our community has wholeheartedly endorsed Dreamer, aka or Nia Nal, coming over to Legends. So just
has to. She's got to go to Legends. She'd be so great over there.
Okay, well, what? Tell us a little bit about Dreamer then. What is her power? What kind of character is she? Tell us a little bit about her.
She sees things that are going to happen literally in her sleep. Oh, and then she's also able to then use her moves to preemptively, anticipate what's coming and react accordingly. She also has this Dreamer energy stuff that nobody's ever really explained.
We don't really explain it, but boy, does it look cool in battle scenes. It sort of reminds me a little bit of like the lasso of truth, but it's blue.
Okay.
But she sort of whips it out sort of like Wonder Woman, and it's nobody really knows its rules or regulations, and I think they did that on purpose so they could just use it for all the cool things.
Gotcha. It's the escape, the easy way out when they can't answer a tough question, right? They use that.
Yeah, we're going to use this because we haven't told you all the rules to it, so we can break them because you don't know what they are.
There are
Personality, her, everything about her. Just she completely put it on the way right. So
Yep.
And what did the old host of Central City Underground used to go? Explain nothing.
Explain nothing.
Explain nothing. There it is.
good job.
Well, let me ask you a question about Lena. Like, the Lena that I know really well is the one from Smallville, and she was actually one of my top 2 favorite characters on all of Smallville. Loved her and loved the actress so much. So compare the 2 Lenas for me. How good is a job is this one doing? I mean, I've liked her. I've watched the. I think I'm somewhere in season 3 or season 4, so I'm not too far behind. Slowly catching up, but she's not bad. What do you guys think? If you compare the 2,
I think she is much more. While I think she's more scientifically driven than what we saw in Smallville. In Smallville, the character was much more a business minded and had some scientifics, but in this she is much more scientific and driven that way, and not while in Smallville she came to help later on, it was unsure where she was coming from at first. I think Lena has always been out to be different than the other Luthers and be positive and things like that, and the reason why she's getting hung up is because she's trying to help, trying to make things better, and manipulated by her brother or different things like that. So it's a different spin on things. So they're just aspects. So
cool. I mean, the actress does a great job. She's like you guys said, the struggle that she has. Does she want to be a villain, or are her friends on the good side enough of a pull to keep her there? I mean, that is a good storyline. I do agree with you from where I am at it, that she's had probably the best depth more recently in watching her having to work those things out. So let me ask you then, I'll skip one question. I'll come back to it here. You guys talked about you're hoping for this last season to be the best ever. So I want to ask you, how are they going to end it? How do you write Supergirl off? How do you bring the show to a close? Because she's Supergirl. I mean, I can't imagine how, unless she just hangs up the cape or she gives up her powers like Superman did in Superman 2. How are they going to end it?
No, I think we've kind of come to a consensus opinion that basically, at least what we're hoping for, is that we just close the book and just say, okay, this is the chapter that we've been able to see and be a part of. And for now we close the book and we don't get to see, but it still keeps going, like as I've put it, I really hope the last graphic on the screen is ... and the adventure continues.
Okay.
And so like we don't get quote unquote resolution.
You don't get an ending like they gave, say, to Arrow with Oliver dying. It's just she just continues. She's Supergirl. We just don't get to partake anymore. Maybe she visits Superman on his new show.
Exactly. And that, and there's been some reports back and forth that, Melissa will be coming back from time to time for different reasons, and maybe to Superman and Lois, maybe for other crossovers, so on and so forth. Okay. But at least if you leave the show that way, it leaves it open-ended for her to come and go as she wants to. And honestly, I think that's the best resolution for our series, not to try and force any kind of wrap up.
Yeah, I liked what y'all said on Maid of Steel when you were talking about this. One of the ideas was that she goes to the future for a little while to help out the Legion, and then she can, whenever she comes back from to another show, it's like, well, I've come back. But I think this kind of ties into what we're talking about with Flash and what the other shows. I think with this DC universe, I don't think you necessarily have to end the show with a character dying or being killed off or something like that. We can just end the show and say, this is the end of what we're seeing, but they're still around. So I think that's a good way to keep things open so that we know that the universe doesn't stop when the last CW show ends, that they're having further adventures. And so you could have in the future, you could have comics based on the TV show, like other shows have had, where they've continued their storyline in the comics, like Firefly and Stargate Universe, where they continued the stories in comics. And to go back and say, okay, this is Supergirl based on the comics, or the Flash based on the TV show. So I think leaving it open-ended with Supergirl kind of opens the door to do that with other shows. So that's my hope too.
Cool. Yeah. No, I you guys are right on the. I was not expecting an answer like that at all. Are you with them, Justina, or do you have a whole other idea?
Yeah, my favorite ending is if they go with the 31st century idea that during my Comic Corner research, I learned that Supergirl was inspiration for the group of superheroes Legion, and I would love to see that story play out, even if I don't get to see it week to week. I would love to see that be an excuse for her to be gone for a while, but then nothing negative, nothing bad has happened to her, and she is inspiring other heroes because she's our paragon of hope. So that would totally work with her character and give a real plausible explanation of where she is. But we always know that she could time travel back and help out in the current timeline whenever, so that is definitely the hope that I am hoping for the most, because it will keep it open and honor a comic storyline, and I know fans love that a lot.
Yeah, great answers, guys. I did not think about that at all, so that's great. That totally solves any conundrums about it at all. It's just let her just continue on, and go into the future would be great. Or we also know since Crisis, there's more than one Earth still out there. Maybe she goes to another Earth.
Yeah, anything that keeps our story open and able to continue later is an ending I will enjoy.
Cool. Well, then now I'm curious then, that the fun question, we're going into the sixth and final season, who has really attached to you? Can you guys narrow it down to one character that you love more than the others?
Kara.
Yeah, the main girl. Well, tell us why.
Kara and Nia would be my runner-up, and I love that Kara is now becoming a mentor more because she has Nia. So that has been really fun for me, that these two characters that I really identify with are now, Supergirl. I'm getting to see Supergirl the mentor out of this, because Nia is a newer superhero than her. So it's fun to watch the mentoring and the friendship there.
Something that we should have seen Barry do with Wally, and we never got.
Mm-hmm. And I would say for me, it's Alex, her sister. Such a deep feeling character and a deep feeling actress in Kyler Lee. I've responded so well to her from the very beginning, and I continue to. We both kind of live out of and react to and respond well, deep feelings, right? And so I've just identified with her from the very beginning. And so, yeah, I'm really hoping for a nice arc for her in this final season.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, I would say probably Jean, because I really like the idea of Martian Manhunter and what a vital aspect that he plays with the Justice League. And from seeing JL and JLU, the animated series, I just really enjoyed that character. And so getting to see small pieces of that, but getting to see David play the different aspects of multiple characters throughout this series has been really good. I think that his writing has been up and down, but I really like him as a character. And he's one of those characters that I'd like to see on other shows as well, because that character is rich and can offer a lot of guidance after his years that he's been around.
I have enjoyed his storyline. So I was going to ask you, is he still around? Is he still a major player? Because the point that I'm at in the show, he's been kind of off and not really like he's no longer the boss of it. Alex has been in charge, and he's no longer, so he hasn't been around lately. So has he come back now full force, or?
Yeah, they still found a way to keep him involved in most everything.
Okay.
Yeah, he decided to change direction. Like, we're moving in a different direction. As far as his life goals and all that, but you know, they still have figured out a way to keep him involved. So.
Now, how about Wynn? Because I can chime in on this. Wynn was always one of my favorites. Because he did go off to the future for a while. Has he come back, or did that actor never return to the show?
No, they had 2 episodes this season where he was back
Mm-hmm.
from the future, and it was great to have him back.
Yeah,
Would love to have more interaction with him in this last season. So,
well, there was something he was the Cisco of Supergirl, basically, and I enjoyed him just as much as Cisco, maybe even more so at some points. So I did miss that character when he left, but I will admit I'm with you, John. Alex has been my favorite from season 1. She was kick-ass. I loved when she put on that exosuit. I had hoped she'd continue to wear that more all the way back from season 1. But I loved the actress and loved the character. She was by far my favorite show. And I mean...
So just wait until you see what she's transformed into now.
Oh, yeah. Just wait till you see this suit. Oh, Lord.
Okay. Well, like I said, I had a bit of a crush on her, so that kind of helped in me picking her. I've always loved that actress. So, yeah. So
we do not have a start date yet. They've been filming without Melissa because she had her baby with Chris Wood, and so she is supposed to be coming back on set here in January. And so they have been shooting some things around her, but we're not even into full production yet. So it's going to be. It's probably going to be well into summer before we start to see this season 6. But like Justina said, Maid of Steel is continuing on with fan favorites, and we're talking about the one true pairing for Kara, and we've been going back through everybody's hopes and dreams for season 6. We're finding all kinds of stuff to talk about in the interim. So
good. Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've had a very big lack, a big gaping hole of superhero stuff to talk about. So that's good. Well done, guys. Well, let's move on to Legends of Tomorrow, because Supergirl's coming back roughly summertime, which is I think when our Legends is coming on, and we can finally get Jess back in the conversation here. Let's start with you, Jess. How did you feel about the last season of Legends?
Oh man, the last season of Legends, it was interesting. I feel like it had some really, really good points and some strong points that I liked. I did like the fates. I'm not sure that the way that they resolved it was what I was expecting, but I did think that they were good characters, and I kind of like the dynamic, and it finally gave Charlie a purpose to kind of figure out who she was. And so I liked that a bit of it, quite a bit. And then, I mean, it's just been a weird couple of seasons because they've really kind of embraced Constantine, and they really embraced like the magic and the sorcery, which is just very different for our show. And so we've seen a lot less like superheroes, a lot less action, a lot less, of the things we were used to, a lot less time travel. So I don't know, like it's kind of weird. I'm not sure that I liked it less than season 4, but it's probably one of my least favorite seasons for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll piggyback on you there. Season 4 was also the worst one. This one wasn't bad. It was fine. I think, like you said, they're focusing so heavily on the magic and the demonology and the Constantine storylines that it's taken away a lot from our show. And those that listen to our podcast hear us talk about it a lot, and we're even talking about it now during the rewatch. It's just they've turned away from the time travel and the consequences of changing things in the past and all that kind of stuff. That was the fun stuff that we love talking about. But there has been some good Constantine stuff, and there's been a few, and I'm with you that the Fate storyline wasn't bad. It was kind of mystical and not so much magic involved, but it wasn't bad. And I hope, I'm hoping we can find a better storyline that can last through the entire season when we do return. But we'll get to that in a second. I want to hear what the rest of you guys thought of Legends.
I'll be honest. I find this Legends to be just a shell of what it used to be. It was funny. I went back and saw a preview of the series that was, originally how it was promoted and everything, and I thought, wow, like this doesn't even look remotely close.
It's so different.
What we started with, and that's fine. I mean, that's I understand that the creatives want a more fun, lighthearted, outing, in this universe and all that. But I just think there's so much more potential that could be a part of this, and I feel like unfortunately we keep spending time with somebody new who comes on, even though I just want to send you Nia, but but we keep spending time with the new people who come on board that we never get any traction as far as what this team is about or what it is that they're supposed to be doing. I don't know. I just I'm sad for it, honestly. So
nothing to be sorry about. That's exactly what me and Jess are feeling. That it's been a struggle to really come to the podcast every week and be extremely excited and positive about it, because it's just not the same show anymore. It really isn't, and it's hard to. It's just hard to be as strong of a fan as we were in the beginning. I mean, this was the show that we began our podcast on. This is the start of our career here, doing this kind of thing, and it is sad. That's a good way to put it. It's made us sad.
I try to look at each season like through its lens. We often joke that we reverse roles on our podcast quite often, where I am the shining light of positivity and he puts on a yellow suit.
I put on my reverse flat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about you guys?
I think for me, I'm doing the rewatch with y'all, and I'm really realizing how strong season 2 was.
Oh, yes.
And because we had, I liked having the heart of the team being Ray and him using his science, but having that heart and kind of welcoming in Nate. The two of them, their dynamic was more heartfelt than some of the silliness that we've gotten into. And so I think the last season was kind of, like Jess said, up and down for me. I am intrigued about what they're going to do next season. But like I said, I think we were a little more consistent when we were kind of discovering and moving forward, and we had a good footing in that season. And so, maybe if we can have a focus rather than, one or, multiple villains and a one focus of, okay, we've got to find Sarah, I think it will be better. So that's my hope.
Right. Are you watching it, Justina? Are you caught up with Legends?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I am caught up with Legends, and it's still my very fun popcorn show. I get bogged down when I try to figure it out. And
Can't anymore.
And then I see like how the story doesn't really make sense. So I've just been enjoying it for the fun of it, because that is where it's always going to shine. But I really do miss the messing up of like specific historical events, because I just think that used to be so much fun when they would use, especially a historical event that I knew a lot about, and then to watch the crazy ripples in the timeline as one little thing makes this historical event that I know everything about just totally turn on its head. So I really, really miss that. And they need to stop doing zombies, because it seems like we've already had several Legends zombies episodes, and it makes me want to hide from Legends every time. But with our cliffhanger for the season, I am incredibly invested in counting the days till we get a premiere date, because I think that this storyline, this alien abduction storyline, could be the thing that gives us that compelling story again. And I'm just hoping that my hopes for that storyline is that it's not an invisible storyline. Like, I hope that it's not because Katie just wants to direct like a lot, so we don't actually get to see her, and it's just the team like trying to find her. I think it would be even more compelling if we get like what's happening to her and the team trying to get to her. I want both this upcoming season. I hope.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we'll get right into that point. I mean, that's what the big question is how much are we going to see of her? Are they going to rescue her right away in the premiere episode, or is the show going to be split into two stories? Half of it is our team trying to find her, half of it is what's happening to her. That would be the best way to go, I think, because I'd like to see just who these aliens are and why do they want her and what it is they're doing with her, and then how is she reacting to all of that. I mean, that's the only way it can go. And then to touch on your guys' points already, like let's get Legends back on track to a compelling storyline. And I think we need to reduce our cast list a little bit and focus more. And like we said on our show, there is the rumor out there, the producers have stated they're going to try to get back to the time travel science fiction adventure that the show began on and get away from the silliness and whatever. So whether that's just hot air they're blowing, I have no idea, but man, my fingers are crossed that is what they're going to focus on, and give me and Jess some, timey-wimey science stuff to get to dive into again, because we missed that.
We do.
We're hoping for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's my expectation. This is going to be, because it's interesting going through the rewatch right now because Ava isn't part of it. So it's like, wow, I forget that Ava is on her show. And when we come back to season 6, Ava's going to be really heartbroken. She's going to be leading. I think she's going to be the temporary leader of the team, trying to find where Sarah is. And, now they're bringing in this new character, and her name is slipping my mind. She's the one that's going to help them find the aliens, because apparently she's dealt with these aliens before. Do you remember her name?
She's our alien expert. Yes,
alien
it's
expert.
Our new character of the season to introduce the season's theme.
Right. So
get one every year.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see. I mean, they've made Gary full time. They've made who's the other character they made full time?
Big cast.
Yeah. Bayrod they've made full time. Yeah. So I know that again, too many character syndrome. Our show is really struggling with that. But yeah. Anybody else? Expectations for this? Is this our last season? Let's jump to that question. If it is Legends' last season, then we also expect big, wonderful things.
I've been thinking it's the last season, just because I have tracked the ratings and they have just steadily declined, almost exponentially. So yeah. I would be surprised if we get a season 7, but then again, at the same time, were they anticipating canceling Supergirl, or was that more of this sort of came up after Melissa had her baby kind of thing? Because if they weren't, I don't know, maybe that may give Legends like another season, but it sort of feels in a lot of ways they're kind of cleaning out the old guard. and they're going to bring in like this new slate of shows. But just ratings alone, I would be surprised if we got a season 7.
Yeah.
I think Batwoman is too soon, and it's almost going to be like a total pilot season again. And so, I would actually expect Legends to have one more. Them and the Flash be the two.
You think?
Kind of standard bearers, since we're losing Black Lightning, we're losing Supergirl.
Yeah.
I just don't think they'll take the step to take Legends out right now.
Right now, I forgot about Black Lightning is done too. Wow, that's crazy. I know we'll talk about that later, but
yeah,
that surprises me.
I think after this season, it's up in the air for me. I kind of hope what John says is we get one more season. But either way, I think what's going to happen is Stargirl is going to move into Legend spot where it's a short season run. It's not going to be a 22 episode run. It's going to be, a 13 episode run, and it's going to come, that second half of the season.
Right.
And maybe they build in, another show to do the first half of the season or something like that. But I could really see Stargirl taking that position because, like it as much as I do, I don't think they're going to put Stargirl in Supergirl's slot. I just don't think. I think but I just see Legends maybe getting one more season. But I think, like I said, it's once it finishes, Stargirl's going to take its time slot. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just listening to you guys now. Legends. I agree with Jess. The ratings give me that feeling. The storyline where it's been going, and the producer saying, "Hey, we're going to get back to the good stuff again." It's like, ooh, it feels like they're building up to this being their last one. But there's been no rumors to justify that, or to, there's been no proof or anything leaked about. Yep, this is it. Whereas we kind of heard about the other shows coming to an end. So, yeah, maybe there's one more in them, and maybe they're trying to get back to their roots, to the good storytelling is going to be a test. Like, okay, let's see if we can save Legends and get it back on track, and if they can, do a season 7. Maybe, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Our Legends is, again, all we know is it's returning in summer of 2021. So we're always the late show to the game, and it looks like it's going to be this way as well. So now I'm curious, because Legends, we're down to 2 original cast members. That's all we got left, Sarah and Mick. So out of all the people that have come through, who do we like the best? I'm pretty sure, Justina, I know I'm going to hear from you say Sarah, hands down. But tell us why. Why do you love Sarah?
Why do I love Sarah?
Yeah.
Because she is so true to the entire story of her character. Like, sometimes when she gets in a certain situation, like back into a corner, I can still see that soulless being that jumped out of the Lazarus pit. So, like, not only is she our captain now and our leader, and they show that really well, but it just has to do with them honoring every bit of her story, starting from Arrow and coming now. Like, we just keep seeing her grow and grow and grow, but yet we can still, when her anger or her fight comes out, you can still sort of see that soulless being that jumped out of the Lazarus pit. So I feel like she's just very consistent in her story, and she's strong, and she's really relatable because she's not perfect, and that is okay. And she makes her team, they all have their own flaws, and she accepts them anyway, and they make each other stronger. And I really appreciate where she's come as a character all these years.
Yeah, I think I think more so than any lead on any other show, she's the one that has really come to a better understanding of the team that she works with, and seems to know what they need. And I also agree with you that her growth, like compared to where she came from, her growth has been one of the most in-depth and fleshed out stories that we've seen out of it when you're just comparing lead characters. You know, she's right up there with Oliver for sure, I think. And, you know, she's really come into her own. And she really is, if you want to give a lead actress, you know, one of our female characters, I think she stands on top above all the other lead females that we have. She's the one that has really taken the role and ran with it. And it's great to see her be such a strong captain and have our team respect her so much, considering where she came from when she's in the League of Assassins, you know, and like how would ever want to follow someone like that? But look at what she's done. She's really turned it around.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I think it's one of those things. I like Ray a lot. I think I appreciate who he is. I didn't appreciate some of the writing that was given to him and the dumbing down of who he was. But if I was going to pick somebody that's currently there, I would probably say Ava, just because she is dealing with so much, and she's been in charge of the Time Bureau. She's had to adapt to leading the crew when Sarah's not available. She has, you know, no superpowers. She has abilities and different things like that. But just, she's somebody that I can put myself in her spot in that role and her frame of mind and things like that. So I appreciate where she's coming from. And, you know, I still think they've got depth to explore with her character, of who she is and who does she really want to be.
Yes, revisit her clone story. I'd love to see that.
Yes.
I mean, everybody loves Ava. There's that constant argument, like, who's better for Sarah, Ava or what's her name from Arrow? Oh my God,
Nyssa.
Nyssa.
Yes. I also love Nyssa, so it's for the fact that Ava can rise up in her storyline and become as beloved as Nyssa is a big deal if you're a fan of these shows.
I would say the consistency and the stability of Gideon, honestly. How they've been able to incorporate the AI so well into the storylines, I think has been pretty much a stroke of genius. And that they count on her, but then at the same time, they also work around when things aren't working or, you know, that type of thing. But she also can think outside of herself enough to help the team and all that. I think what they're doing with her is so much better than just simply like a plot device. It's intelligent incorporation of what that character as such is, even though it's the onboard computer. I've always found that to be enjoyable about Legends. Plus, you know, it was from Firefly.
Monica Baccarin.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
and Gotham.
Yeah.
Marina Baccarin, right.
Yeah, at one point it was.
Yeah.
When it's on The Flash, it's Marina Baccarin. When it's on our show, it's Amy Louise Pemberton.
So is it the same? Are
no,
they the exact...
I am of the belief that the two Gideons are not the same.
Interesting.
I believe I've gone on record of this before, but I'll do it again. I don't think that they are the same. Potentially in some way connected, but they are not the same.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the storyline we've had on Legends too. And I think we're coming up to that in a rewatch when we see a whole bunch of the other time ships computers and they all their names start with G. So it'd be, yeah, I would love to dive into that. I wish we could, but obviously ours is maybe the only one left. But yeah, Gideon's a great pick. I mean, we love her. We have a ton of fun with her, and I would love to see Amy more. And I've said on the show before, I'd love to see her create herself an avatar that she can just put all of her computer knowledge into, and she becomes part of the crew.
That'd be fun
because she's awesome when she's on there for sure.
Yep. And we need the Muppets back. That's just my personal opinion, but we need the Muppet characters back. So.
Yeah.
Oh, not permanently. They're funny every once in a while, but not permanently.
Jess,
My
after all these
turn.
years doing the show together, who's going to be your favorite character?
Honestly, I usually pick Sarah for pretty much all the reasons Justina listed. So I'll go with my second, which is the original Zari, because I loved her snark and just like her realism and just everything she brought to the team. I really loved that character, and I miss that character. I had high hopes we would get her back, and wow, we didn't.
No.
So
That's funny. That's I picked her too. She's the original Zari 1.0. Just something about her I really connected with. She was snarky, she was funny, she wanted to do things on her own, and we saw her struggle with her own, wanting to change her past and her history, and she kind of got to, and now we've got Zari 2.0, and it's I just haven't. I still like her. I love the actress, but Zari 2.0 is not connecting to me as strongly as 1.0.
not as strongly, no.
Yeah,
they've gotten a little bit better with her. They've toned down some of the Valley Girl a bit, so it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the same.
It's tough. And in doing
Not
the
to
rewatch
say.
right now, I'm finding that I miss the old Mick. Mick is also one of my favorite characters. But the Mick that we have in the rewatch, not the Mick we have now, who just is a background character having one-liners,
I know.
insulting somebody. That's all he does now. He's not even part of the storyline hardly. And they've brought in his daughter, which finally gave him something to do and build a bit of depth for him. But we're not getting enough of it because there's too many other people on the show to allow him to develop his story and his relationship with her. So it's unfortunate. But the Mick we're watching in the rewatch, man, I love that guy. It's just so much fun. Well, all right. Stargirl has come up. Let's move into Stargirl and talk about that a little bit. We're all watching Stargirl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's nodding. Yep. Good. Well, let's talk about this first season, and I'll kick it off because it was a surprise when me and Jess were trying to figure out what are we going to podcast about since Legends was off for an extended period of time. We want to keep talking about something, and we're like, we gave options. And we put up a voting poll, and people, voted Stargirl, and it just was kind of hemming and hawing. I don't know. And so I went and watched the premiere episode, and I was so surprised by how good it was. I said, Jess, you have to watch this. It's so good. You'll be surprised. And as soon as she watched, she says, yep, this is the one. We're doing it. And the whole season was just so strong. It just felt like all the DC writers that kicked off The Flash, that kicked off Arrow, that kicked off Supergirl, it's like they all came back again to the writing board and said, let's do Stargirl. And because it just brought back all the original feelings of this DCTV universe. And like they found that magic again for Stargirl. I absolutely loved it. And even though it had kind of a younger vibe, it was more built around a teenage team, and it didn't matter. It was fun. It's fun to watch with the family. It's fun they did such a good job. I was so happy with what they did.
Yeah, I loved it. I think Jeff Johns, this is his character. He's created a lot of characters, but this was, his character created to honor his sister, and you just felt his influence in the series. I think it's a unique spin, the world that they're in, that they get to play with. I like the shorter season. It was interesting. I usually watched every episode twice. I watched it once on DC Universe with no commercials, and then once on the CW with commercials. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that, because they included little bits that gave a little more character to things and a little bit fuller story. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that with something designed in season 2 to have commercials in there. But I really loved it. I thought it's a fun way to build a golden age in the modern age team. And I'm looking forward to seeing these characters more fleshed out. But I think what really drew me to it is the family dynamic. You've got this blended family of a mom and a dad working to make a marriage work, which is great, to be there for their kids. And that's what just really hit home with me, is just the family feel of it. And so I just loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Yep.
Yep.
Jess, what about you? I mean, we're covering it on our Tomorrow's Legends podcast, so let's hear what you felt about Stargirl.
I mean, I loved the first season. I thought it was great. It was kind of like you said, it was a breath of fresh air. It was very well done from start to mostly finish. You can argue that the ending was a little rushed and a little different, just because they didn't have any idea what was going to happen. It was so far in the can by the time we got the announcement of that they would be renewed for season 2 and put on the CW and all of these things. So I get why they did what they did. They're trying to make sure that they had the full story, so that it could stand alone. But that aside, I mean, I thought it was excellent. I mean, even in the shorter season, it worked. It kept the writing tight. It kept all the storylines tight. And I liked that a lot. It had one of the most compelling villains I have seen since the Reverse Flash and Zoom. So I guess that since I said I liked Zoom, but so that's kind of saying something. It was good. It was a great season. I'm really looking forward to where season 2 is going, just because I know the creative team is the same, even though it's moving to the CW. I know a lot of people were a little bit trepidatious about that, but it's the same creative team. So I have faith that it'll still be pretty good.
Right. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm right with Jess. That last episode sucked.
I know, it was a surprise.
But just because they were cramming everything they possibly could in it, and it just didn't work at all. But other than that, I thought the character development was really, really good. I felt like the beginning of it really, really, really grated on me. I mean, like big time, because I am not a fan of kids and they're not listening and, just doing their own things and all that. Like, I mean, that just,
Yeah.
She kept doing it over and over and over. And,
you can tell the parents among us.
Oh, no doubt.
It drove us all crazy.
But I said, seriously, I mean, I think there comes a point in the family dynamic and in the just, for God's sake, for decent society, for young people to respect the authority that they have around them. And at some point I was just like, oh, this dynamic has to stop. And for the most part it did once she and Dad kind of got on the same page with things. But the character development all around I thought was so well done for 13 episodes. It floored me, and the depths that we were able to get especially with some of the villains, and then not just be like superficial characters. I mean, I really felt like they took the time. We got to know them well. The exploration in the brainwave I thought was so well done, and and the dynamic with his son and everything like that was the highlight of the season for me. So many kudos. So very little that they could have tweaked to make this literally perfect. Just so excited for what it was and where it's going.
Cool. And Justina.
It was light. It was bright. It was fun. I was just loving it so much.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, I could relate to because I have a stepdad as well, and how I felt when that change came into my family, and how it's sort of odd when it's like your kids and their kids, and I was like, they're doing this story so genuinely, and I really related to that, and it got me really invested in the story as a whole. And I'm so glad that Pat and Courtney's relationship continued to evolve throughout the season, and it wasn't just fighting back and forth against each other, because that was really hard in the beginning, but to get that that moment of the Christmas gift had to have been the best part of that season finale, because it took this journey all the way to the end, and had CW not picked it up, they did a good job at making sure that if this was going to be their only season, it could still be a very, very enjoyable season to watch. But boy, am I super excited that we get more stories, because the potential is so big for this show.
It is. And I love that you guys all brought up the villains, because you look at the other shows that go 22 something episodes long and they struggle with their villains. You look at Stargirl, 13 episodes, and we got 3 very compelling villains. You had Icicle, you had Brainwave, and you had Shiv, all with their own individual storylines that developed so thoroughly through such a shorter season, and the actors playing the parts. I mean, to me, Icicle, I remember talking about, he is up there with Reverse Flash, with Slade from Arrow, as in the top tier of villains that we've ever had. But I mean, you could argue that for all 3 of them, and Brainwave as well. That just the story, the depth that these guys had. And that, I think, for the last episode, that's where my disappointment comes from, is because they kill Icicle off, and they like, why are you guys getting rid of these guys? This is what the show is centered around. So and I guess let's take that into the next question then, is what could the second season be about? Where should they go with it? Because of how the finale ended, it's like they ended it and then we don't know where we're going now. So what could the show do? What's a good storyline for them to take off with?
I mean, I'm intrigued about where we're going with Shiv and Eclipso. So I want them to flesh that out so that we can kind of see what's going to happen. Also, I mean, are they just like going to go back to school? I think this is the part that confuses me. Like, I guess obviously Cindy/Shiv is not going to go back to school. This is the dynamic I can't quite like figure out.
Yeah.
But I guess they'll have to go back to school, I guess. I don't know. It just seems kind of weird now, but there's no way around that when they're 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, they kind of have to, which is kind of, I mean, Smallville did it. They were all in high school during Smallville, right? So
yeah.
It can be done. So yeah. Anyone else? What about next season? What do you think is a good story path for it to take?
I think it's going to be interesting having this the Shade, who is going to be in and out, and he's kind of a holdover to the former group of bad guys, but he's fairly powerful but behind the scenes, so that's going to be interesting. And then getting to see how Shiv and just really deals with dealing with this new villain. Is this Eclipso going to take over her, or is she going to fight it? Is it just going to make her more powerful? We know that there's an actor cast, so there's going to be an actor in that character. But just some potentially powerful characters here. So I think, one of the things that, in order to have a good series, you have to have credible threats. And that's what was so good about Stargirl, is these group of the Legion there was so credible and so powerful that it caused our heroes to step up. And so I think having some pretty intense villains that are powerful is going to cause this season to cause these new heroes to step up as well. They've gotten a little bit cocky, so I'm looking to see them kind of struggle with their powers, and the team dynamic that they started with, that they've got to really build on. So those are things I'm looking forward to in this new season.
Yeah, well said. It really is. I think a good villain is what drives the show. I mean, if you have a show about a superhero, they're nothing without a good villain driving the story. So hopefully we get the same type of compelling depth that we had from season 1. I don't know anything about Eclipso, so I'd love to see what happens there. And then I heard they also casted the Pink Pen. There's a.
And they cast Jim Gaffigan.
Is that who it is? Yeah, I don't know who it is. So it will be interesting to see how that character comes in and becomes part of the show. So, yeah.
He's a pretty famous comedian. He's Hot Pockets. That guy.
Awesome. Yeah. Any other thoughts about the second season?
Well, I just think we need a further explanation into why Blue Valley, like why all of this stuff has to take place in this little Nebraska town. Like, what's so important about it? And you're right. I mean, we kind of took out the Injustice's kind of end goal, right? Of using the satellites taking over brains, and brainwaves not here anymore. That kind of thing. So like we've kind of dealt with that plot. So what's the next thing for them? Like, what's the next big goal for them that our team has to then take on? So that's going to be interesting. And then of course the reintroduction of Starman and what dynamic that is going to throw into Courtney and Pat.
Mm-hmm.
And is she going to be drawn away from Pat because of this, and just the CW angst that's going to come? But that angst from two fathers, which I think is going to be hopefully explored really intelligently and really well done, and not just drama for drama's sake.
It's the same creative team. Just keep telling yourself
Exactly. So that's why I'm looking forward to it, and I'm not like, "Oi."
Yeah. What happened? Why?
So
why does our man and Courtney suddenly have a relationship? What's going on?
So I'm looking forward to those aspects of it, and especially why Blue Valley? Like, what is it about? This place that derives all of this. So
yeah. Well, and to add on to that, I mean, are they going to use the old Justice Society's headquarters there at the Round Table where she went and took all the items from? Because these kids need a base of operations, right? Now that they're a team, so let's see some of that come into play.
I could see them. That was involved a flight time to get there, and the Justice Society has had multiple headquarters, so I could see them creating one of their own, kind of co-opting some of what the Legion there was using, and the Injustice Society was using, and co-opting that and making that their own. And so I would like to see it a little closer, but I definitely want to see the table. Them using the table. That's great.
Now, we also don't know exactly when the show is returning. Summer 2021 is roughly the idea that we have, and that's all we can tell you about right now. So the fun question I've been asking for each show, out of this first season, who did you connect with the most? Who ended up coming out on top as your favorite character?
Icicle.
We're hand in hand about this show, I think, Jess. I'm with you, so tell me why Icicle.
He was just a fantastic villain. I love that actor, man. I am so sad they killed him off. I am just holding out hope in the back of my head that somehow his little icy particles are going to reformulate and he'll come back magically.
A la Terminator 2, yeah.
Yeah. He was so good. He had so much charisma until he kind of fell apart there at the end. But man, he was a joy to watch. He was great. He was evil to the core. I loved it.
Yeah, well, and that's what shocked us about the show. Like, it seemed more a younger, viewer-driven, family-type show, and yet then you watch him kill people. Like when he killed the wizard in his front entrance there, and his grandparents are just like, yeah, good. I will help you clean it up. I mean, this show went to places I never expected it to go, and it was all based around Icicle, a lot of it. And he was just, I mean, it's a pun intended here. He was so cool, so calm and collected about being evil and nefarious. I'm with you. He's definitely my favorite.
I'm going to say Pat for me. I really appreciated him having to both step up from being a sidekick and him wanting to be a part of the action but being turned down to it, to having to step up and be more than a sidekick but a mentor and a parent to everybody there, and that's still in flux. He's still learning how to do and learning how to be that hero, and so I appreciated him and just the dynamic that he brought to the show.
Yeah, Pat was a lot of fun to watch change. He went through a lot of changes this season. I mean, just understanding the relationship he's in and struggling with Barbara and, you know, what's going on with her. Yeah, he's a good character. And I mean, it was played so well. What's the actor's name, Jess?
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson. I am struggling today on my names. Luke was just so much fun. Him and his brother, Owen, I was never really a fan of them in the movies because they just have that dumb surfer mentality to them usually, but he really brought it and was able to play a stepfather role in such a believable way. Just really did it.
It's good.
Justina, how about you?
I think Beth.
I love Beth.
Because she's so lovable, and I really got a kick out of the relationship that she started with Chuck. And it's because I think I identified, because I'm a pretty shy person when I'm not with, like, I'm okay when I'm with my group of friends, but I'm shy in situations where I don't know people. And I just really identified with her because she just wanted to be included in this group, and and once she right away, did everything she could to help them and play a part. And just like I love sitting here tonight and talking to all of you because you're my super friends. I love that Beth has super friends now.
Yes.
Oh, that totally makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, what happened to the goggles? Are broken now, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope we can rebuild Chuck. Can we rebuild Chuck for season 2? That's Green Butterfly's wish. Let's put that down.
He's got to have an off-site computer powering those things. Those things are just an access point, so they've got to reconnect somehow.
Yeah.
Justice for Chuck. I need more Chuck.
Yes.
Well, because what's Beth going to do without Chuck? I mean, that was her connection. So without Chuck, I don't know what she can do for the team unless she becomes the Oracle type of member that stays back at the base and does all the tech stuff. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I feel like she could still, if they can't repair the goggles, she could assume a Felicity type role.
Yeah.
With other pieces of technology, I think.
And John?
Yeah, I got to stick with. I am all about, our media putting out positive father figures, and I think this show just did it in spades. I think because it not only was him being a competent father, but it was so much more than that. It was him with failures, and him with being put in spots that he couldn't win, and yet still trying to figure it out and all that. So. I am all about that kind of positive father figure portrayal, and so I hope they just keep that train just right on rolling. So, and he has such a great time with Stripe and what he's able to bring there, and so, and the wisdom from the past that he's able to bring forward. If they would just simply stop and be patient and ask and learn,
listen to him.
At the same time, he doesn't force it on them. He's just, I know what I'm doing, and I'm perfectly willing to help you, but I'm also going to let you fail because that's how you learn. And so, yeah, I am on that Pat Stripe train.
Yeah, you guys have had excellent points about Pat, and it's very, very well stated. Good argument for him. For sure. I don't disagree at all. But let's talk about Stripe, because this was part of the season-long debate with him, is Stripe hasn't really been helpful. He needs to improve that thing. But I also saw it as a learning process that every time he takes Stripe out, he gets shown a weakness in the machine, and then he has to go back and accommodate for that. So I like that idea. Like Stripe itself was getting to grow and progress through the show. So I'd like to see it take a big leap forward for season 2, where Stripe actually can become a really strong member of the team when they have to go fight, and not always show up and then get taken down by something he hasn't seen before. I'd like to see that, where they can rely on him for the power and the strength that they need. Because I mean, if Our Man isn't around, you know, that's what Pat's going to bring. Or Stripe, I should say. Yeah. Cool, guys. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Well, we got 2 more shows to cover here, and these ones I haven't kept up with, so I'm gonna have to defer to you guys for those of you that are watching. We got Black Lightning, and we got Batwoman. So who wants to take the lead on Black Lightning? Who's been keeping up with it?
Well, I mean, I certainly have.
Okay.
And, you know, this season has been something so much out of the box compared to where the show started, which is fine. And I think it's, from what I can tell, I don't have the comic background, but from what I can tell, I think this show, I think, relies on its comic roots much heavier than the others. And I think this whole, battle that they're having with, the M country. I don't know if my brain froze on that. Anyway, I just think that it's able to flesh out characters well. I think it's able to flesh out dynamics and relationships well. The overall story arc, I find a bit confusing, which is kind of weird to say. Like I don't think it should be, probably, but I think there's some things that they're either not able to fit in, or the editing has to cut out, or whatever, that would be helpful to bring a better comprehension of what's happening through the storyline. Really sad that it's coming to a close. I think it had such a specific purpose and such a specific way of dealing with social issues that only a predominantly African-American cast could. And they did it really, really, really well without, again, the banging it over your head that some of the Berlanti stuff does. And so for that reason, I'm really sad that this is going to be it. But that being said, I think, they have a whole lot that they can do with this season, and there's going to be a ton of action, I'm sure, in it as they try and wrap up this battle of the two kind of countries, and what that looks like, and how they bring resolution to these characters. I think this will be a resolved and done story, and we'll just have to see how that comes together. Particularly since they're in such a battle type of arena in the storytelling. So
okay, well, one thing I'm curious about is his daughters. The point that I got to on it is one daughter, and I can't remember the names. She the one that has to hold her breath to get and become invulnerable. Does she still have to do that? Has her powers progressed anyway along the lines? And then his younger daughter, I saw she had just developed her powers and wasn't sure quite. She was still figuring them out. But she had some type of explosion flame type of ability. Maybe just kind of catch us up a bit on what's going on with the two kids.
Yeah. Justina?
I'm still not watching Black Lightning.
Oh, okay. Oh. My bad. I thought you were. No, my bad. Jeff?
Yeah, I got about partway through season 2 and just stopped just because of time wise. So I haven't been keeping up. So I've got to catch up sometime.
Okay, so
it's all on you, John.
Jennifer is the youngest, and yes, she has definitely full capacity of her abilities at this point. She's still trying to figure out how to use them and for what purpose. She's been manipulated into using them for different reasons and different people, and so that's been interesting to watch. So yeah, she's figuring that out. Oh dear, the older one, who I'm blanking on her name, but she has kind of two roles. She is Thunder, and then she's also Bird. There's a wow, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the details, but she has kind of two different roles, and yes, her powers are also brought to the fore in all of those things. So so they really do have things fleshed out there well. The older one also is in a really interesting dynamic with in a relationship with a changeling, basically.
Oh, okay.
Who's able to take different forms of people and animals and things and that kind of a thing. At first, it was a defense mechanism, and that's the way it was portrayed. And now it's definitely used to her advantage. So they've explored a really interesting side of things with his wife, Dr. Lynn Stewart, in this season, and she's been dealing with some addiction issues. So they've handled that really well.
Okay, cool.
And the biggest shock of this season, and I'm assuming everybody who's up to speed with it, this won't be too big of a spoiler, but Chief Henderson was killed at the end of this season. So,
oh boy,
so sorry to see him departing and not being able to take part in this last season.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's continued very well. There's talk about Painkiller kind of going off on his own and having his own series. I'm not sure where the development is on that. And if
I heard that rumor.
But and we also know that China, who plays Jennifer, has already opted out of being in the full season. Like whether it was going to be the last season or not, this was already part of the deal, and so she's only going to be in a few select episodes in this season. So there's a number of different factors that are going to be at play here.
Right.
And so I don't know. It's going to be an interesting wrap up.
Is it still based heavily around the green, the drug that people are taking to get super abilities from?
Yeah, the green light.
And that's still heavily part of the storyline? Yeah. Interesting. So why is it ending? Why after only 4 seasons? Because this is the shortest run of the superhero shows. Is there anything out there that's been released as to why it's coming to an end?
Nothing official.
I know the ratings and the viewership have gone down for it, just like it has the other shows. So,
sure. Yeah. This one being helmed by Sonny McKeel as opposed to specifically Greg Berlanti.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's kind of motivating him to bring things to a close at this point, other than maybe the CW forced him. Nothing official has come out, so it'd be wrong for me to speculate. So
yeah, well, it's too bad. I mean, I loved it. I got, like you, Jeff, I got only partway through season 2, but I really loved in the Crisis event when Black Lightning got to take part, because for me, only kind of knowing the character, but to see him there with the team, I felt like he really fit in the Crisis event when he had a big role to play by trying to keep feeding the treadmill enough power so the Flash can continue running on it, and he's just feeding it. I felt he fit in with the team. It was good to see him there and get to play with the other superheroes, because this is the first time he ever got to cross over with any of the shows. So it's unfortunate. I did enjoy the guy playing the role, and I enjoyed the character, and it's just, it's too bad. I'm surprised that the CW is almost cleaning house. That's why we're wondering about Legends and, how long is Flash going to go, because they are kind of sweeping out the old and making the room ready for new. Yeah. So that takes us to Batwoman, who, wow, this show, I mean, you think Black Lightning is struggling. This show had... I don't know how well it took off, and Jeff, you might be the one that has to take the lead on this one, but their main actress quits, and the show after its first season, you're thinking, well, what's going to happen? That could be a short run, but now they've recast the role. It's going to be a new lead actor playing a different version, I guess a different character in the Bat suit. So I don't know who watched this first season all the way through.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I did a lot of reading of a Batwoman leading up to season 1, and I think they captured some parts of the dynamics of the relationships well, and other ones just didn't work as well. I think Ruby was okay, but I think she was a little miscast. I don't think she was as strong as the villain, and really Alice being the villain was so strong, and Alice is strong in the comics as well. And in the comics, she gets somewhat redeemed and becomes more of a gray character that helps Batwoman out some. She comes back from the edge some, so I'm interested to see how they're going to do that without her sister there and only having her dad to help pull her back. But I just think it was rough. I think we just had a lot of questions about, we had questions of where's Batman and the whole universe and building. And so I think it was just rough that way. And I think, like John said earlier, we're getting a brand new character as Batwoman who is not in the comics. So this is a new person, and how is she going to make Batwoman her own? I just don't know how that's going to work. Maybe they can give her own villains, and Alice is in there somewhat to kind of play villain, but also maybe help her out some too. I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's just going to be really weird. I think, in my opinion, they would have been much better off in just recasting. I think, honestly, they would have been much better just recasting Kate Kane and, talk something about, having to have an injury and, she had to change her face or something like that. But
it would have fit in the storyline anyway, because we had that face changing thing that Alice was doing. She was taking people's faces.
Right.
So it would have just made the storyline go all the way through, and then we wouldn't have lost the story of Kate Kane that we've built for one season.
Yeah. And they're saying that, a big part of this season is where is Kate, and how do you answer that and give us a satisfactory answer? I don't know. We'll see. So the comics, I would still advise people to check out the comics. Very powerful storylines that she deals with. And the interesting thing is, in the comic book, she has this work with / hate relationship with the DEO. And it's a very different DEO. It's led by this character Bones, who's kind of got powers and ability of his own, but he's kind of blackmailing Batwoman to work with him, and she has some interesting team ups with some characters. So I definitely recommend checking out the comics, of her first run there. But it's just going to be interesting to see what they do. I like I said, like John said, I think it's just going to be a season 1 take 2. So
this is a train wreck. There is no better. This is a complete and utter train wreck. And I'm still going to watch it, just like, you can't look away. But I think what has really kind of left me from season 1, and I realize that these Brillianti shows go off script and don't have to follow canon every single step of the way. But I think what really angered me, literally out of season 1, was that they started messing with the Batman canon, which your average person knows probably backwards and forwards, right? Because we've gotten these stories over and over and over and over again. And now, I can't even take this seriously not that it was that easy to begin with, but it's like I can't even take this seriously as an ongoing series, because now they're starting to mess with this iconic, iconography that has been built up in this character for 80 years, and now you've got him, killing the Joker, and just stuff like that. That I was just like,
right,
no, you don't. You don't get to cross that line, like, and expect folks to hold on to this. I don't know anything about the character. I'll be the first to say I know zip about the comic background about any of these characters. I've never been into the comic books themselves, and so I come at these stories just from their own, whatever they want to bring. But this just doesn't work for me as an ongoing series. And now with all of this, with totally reshaping and redoing everything that they just built in season 1, which finally in episode like 17 or 18 out of 22 finally got going.
Oh man.
And then you're just gonna totally reshape and redo the whole thing. It's like we're just totally throwing that out, and there's no plausible way to make this work, because the whole thing was based on Kate Kane and her, working around all these people, and now all these people have no purpose because they don't have relationship with the main character anymore. So it's just like,
how are they going to do it? Yeah,
brain wreck.
Oh man, yeah, that's unfortunate. And I did try to watch it. I just felt the show was weak to begin with, so I didn't really get into it. And like Jeff, just time is too much. But it's unfortunate because the character, the actress that plays Alice, Rachel Scarsden, I absolutely love her. Oh man, she is amazing. Like my guilty pleasure was watching Reign, which was the story of the Queen of Scots, and Rachel Scarsden got to play Queen Elizabeth. And she was amazing as Queen Elizabeth, and I fell in love with her on that show, and I got to meet her, and I'm trying to find it now while you guys are talking. I have a picture of me and her, because I got to meet her, and she's so much fun. She's just a great actress, and all I heard was great things about her. Any Batman or Batwoman news I heard was about how good Alice is because of Rachel. So,
she is. Yeah. She is one of the most compelling characters on that show, for sure, hands down.
Yeah, see? It's unfortunate. So, what is going to happen to the show in the second season if they're going to somehow try to just freshly reboot it and hand wave away everything? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know and see what. Are you guys willing to watch? Are you going to give it a try to see if this train wreck gets back on track?
Yeah. I'll be there because I'm interested to see what they do, and mainly. A lot of it is due to the Alice character, some of the rest of the cast too. But yeah, I'm interested.
Is Alice returning for season 2?
I just have to see what they think they can do with this, and if they do manage to pull something out, it'll be miraculous. Like it'll be a wonder to watch.
Oh my gosh, I think this is the most negativity I've ever heard out of John.
Yeah, isn't that funny? All right, guys. Well, we got a few general discussion points now to just talk about the DC Universe overall. What I'm curious about first is with the COVID world and everything that's happening and these shows really struggling to find a way to get filming done, is there going to be a crossover event this next year? And if there is, what shows should and will be involved?
No, I think not an overall event. I don't think at all. I think, if anything, we might see a couple of shows intermingle. Like in the very beginning, we had Flash come into Supergirl, right? Okay. And that type of thing. But overall, major crossover, no, I don't see that happening at all. It's too many players, too many working parts that would have had to have already gone on to make that happen. So I think there will be some interesting surprise appearances in this last season of Supergirl. I think honestly, Stargirl is too proprietary in all the different players that they have going on. To bring somebody in I don't think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So obviously Legends is built for that, but there's already so much going on with so many people that I think it becomes a distraction at that point.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about Batwoman. There's way too much going on there to get any kind of traction with bringing somebody else in, even for a guest up.
Maybe they have to bring Oliver in as the Spectre to just fix everything. Cool. Yeah. I mean, the crossover events are fun, but I just don't think it's logistically possible this year with everything that's going on in the real world. So I'm with you. It might just be small guest appearances, maybe, just to keep things under control for them. Unless, I mean, the crossovers aren't usually till the end of the year, so I guess we can see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah, I did some quick Googling just to kind of see how things have changed, just, because of how everything has changed over the course of the year. And back in May, they had announced that they would be like a small crossover with Superman and Lois and Batwoman. So I don't know if that's still in the works. As of May, they were planning like a 2-hour event. So not like the big ones that we've gotten used to. I agree. I mean, I agree with everything that John said. I think it's highly unlikely that they're going to have this like big, crazy crossover event. There's no way they're going to be able to pull that off logistically, at this point. I don't think. But what I can't find is recent news on even if this one is still going to happen. So.
Well, talking about small characters making appearances and possibly leading in, how about the news that Diggle is coming back, our beloved Diggle from Arrow, and it turns out he's going to be visiting all of the shows.
And
Yay! I mean, that is exciting news, because if you can't get Oliver, Diggle is the next best thing, and we all love him. So the fact that he's playing Diggle in all of the shows is a big deal, but there's that little tidbit they announced that on Legends he'll be playing something different. And of course, we're all
him to be Green Lantern, y'all.
Yes, exactly.
I need this to happen. They gave him a ring. Come on.
Yes, see, that's exactly it. They have to, but would they? Because HBO has the Green Lantern show coming out. So would they?
I don't care.
Do they care?
They have to do it. They gave him the ring. They have to do it. They have to follow through.
Yeah. I think at this point, they're going to allow it, because he's not going to be in the Green Lantern series. That one's not going to have him in there. I think they're going to be fine with him being in there. So, I want to see him as Green Lantern. So, yes.
How awesome would it be? And why couldn't he be Green Lantern in all of his stops on each of the shows?
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, to me.
Yeah,
because that's the last thing we saw of him, right? He gets the meteor hits, he gets thrown against the van, he goes and he looks, he opens the box, his face glows green. That's the last thing we saw of him. So he's got the ring with him wherever he goes. He's
and they weren't they moving to Metropolis? Weren't they moving over to
moving to Metropolis? So.
Yeah. So
he'll probably start there.
But it's exciting. I mean, that's one really big point that we have to look forward to, for sure, to these new seasons, is when he's going to show up and what's his role going to be. Why is he visiting everybody? Maybe he's flying around as a Green Lantern to say, hey, look at me.
He's just dropping in to help everybody out.
Yeah.
They've got him on speed dial.
Too fun. So let's talk about the new shows then. And tell me if I'm missing any. We got Superman and Lois. There's discussion about Wonder Girl and Green Lantern we just mentioned. And then you've also got one on here, which I didn't know about, GCPD, which is Gotham City Police Department.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those shows.
The GCPD is kind of a hand-in-hand with the movie. So it is... The Batman movie is Batman Year 2. So he's had his origin. He's been established. He is, moving further into his career. He's still new, but he's there. The GCPD series is set during Year 1. So it's kind of going to be happening before the movie. So it's kind of going to look at how Gotham is before Batman shows up, and then once Batman originally does. So it's going to be an interesting kind of take on thing. I was objecting to it at first because it seems like, okay, you have done this with Gotham. But it looks like it's going to be, whereas Gotham started out more focusing on Jim and the GCPD, and then we got looped into the Batman stuff. This one's going to be, looped in and looking at corruption and different things like that. So I'm interested to see where it goes after seeing kind of the vision of what the Batman movie is. So we'll see. No set timeline for that one to come out yet. I haven't seen a date yet, so we're still in the early stages on that one, because Batman's not coming out till 2022 now, I believe. Yeah, so this, it may be in 2022. So
is that one you're going to plan to cover though, Jeff, since you were Gotham Undercover?
I don't know. It really depends on if it is, length of the series is, and if it's going to lend. So I don't know. I'm keeping options open. So
yeah. Well, we got to get you something to podcast about, man. We haven't gotten to listen to you week after week for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that one's on my list. That sounds awesome. So
cool.
I'll be on board for that.
So, John and Justina, I am curious, Superman and Lois, are you guys feeling a bit bitter towards that one? Because it almost seems like Supergirl is kind of canceling at the time that they're shifting their perspective to Superman. I want to know what your feeling is, or is it something like you're excited about and you know what, let's just turn Maid of Steel over into Man of Steel and continue podcasting about it?
Justina, go ahead, please.
I am excited for Superman and Lois because I really, really like our Lois. I really like Elizabeth Tulloch. So I'm already invested in that actress, and I've become attached to our version of Superman as well, Tyler Hoechlin. Mm-hmm. I wish with my whole heart that Superman and Lois could have come in earlier, because I would have liked to see more seasons of Supergirl and the Superman and Lois running concurrently, where we could have these fun Super Cousins crossovers where we can affect each other's stories in little ways.
Yeah.
And I feel like the timing of what they're doing, the fact of not having Supergirl at its side for hardly any time at all has dampened my enthusiasm some. But I am still looking forward to watch it, because I did finally get to finish watching Smallville for the first time, and I was in college when Lois and Clark was on, so I totally missed that as well. So this will be my first experience as a weekly TV show going through the relationship of Clark and Lois, which I became really, really, really invested in at the end of Smallville.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a different actress, but since I already really enjoy that actress's acting, I'm excited to see what she can bring to this role. And that's one thing I'm really learning from watching all these different shows and then going and watching the DC movies, that sometimes it's just super fun to see these characters, like we mentioned earlier in this show about how there was more than one Lena and there's more than one Lois, and all these different actors and actresses just bring their new spin on these characters. We're talking about how we want to see Green Lantern Diggle, and there's been other Green Lanterns, and it's just so fun to have this.
Yeah, exactly. John, you were going to jump in on that.
Yeah, to answer your question, we are dedicated to the Supergirl series, and I don't think it's time for us to switch channels as far as the podcast goes, as far as Maid of Steel goes. And so we're going to continue on whatever the journey looks like. We as we're doing these episode recaps and looking back at the journey that we've had with Supergirl, we may incorporate some kind of segment or something along the way about how things are going with Superman and Lois. Mm-hmm. But we are not, I don't think, dedicating a new podcast or our podcast to Superman and Lois. Frankly, I'm a little resentful of this new show simply because of my love for Lois and Clark, the Adventures of Superman. I thought that was the take that needed to happen with that relationship. And I honestly, I have zero expectations for this show. I'm not excited about it. And I hate to say that because I adore the character of Superman. But watching him and Lois deal with their teen son's drama while trying to be a superhero, there's nothing in that premise that I'm just like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm sure they will build it out to more than that, but that's basically kind of what we've been told so far. And I am not there. Yes, I will sit there and watch it, of course. But I feel like it can't be anything more than just a villain of the week type thing. And then with the ongoing arc of what's happening with the twins. And I don't know. I certainly hope there's more, but unfortunately I have nothing to expect that from yet. So
and I didn't know it was going to be a teenage child that they're at, because we just saw her basically have the baby. So I didn't think it was there. So they're just doing a bit of a time jump with that, and that's the first time a Superman show has ever done that at all. Have them with a kid. I mean, the only time we ever saw that was with Brandon Routh's Superman Returns when he got her pregnant at the end of that movie. So that. This is and again, like you said earlier, bringing young kids into some shows sometimes really throws off the writing and the direction of the show. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I'm with you guys. I love that you guys brought up Lois and Clark and Smallville. I mean, we all know Smallville, but I find a lot of the CW fans never did see Lois and Clark, and it was one of my favorite shows. I absolutely loved. I love Terry Hatcher and I love her portrayal. It just they did really well. And
yeah, that's one I need. I only saw bits and pieces, and so I'm looking forward to checking it out sometime and seeing it all the way through.
It's a great show. It
I
might
could probably
be
do with a rewatch, but I remember liking it.
Yeah, it might seem a little bit dated right now, especially the outfits and stuff, but it's still fun. I think they explored.
It's completely campy, and it's complete cheeseball. But at the same time, it was also so compelling because of what Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher had. I mean, it was electrifying to watch.
Chemistry, yeah.
Oh yeah. And the folks who played his parents and all that. I mean, just there were fantastic dynamics with that series.
Yeah.
And I'm just I know Justina is all about Elizabeth Tulloch. I'm just not feeling it. From her as far as the Lois, and I've always just sort of been kind of on Tyler as well. So there's just not a whole lot that's here.
He's still on that negative train there, Jess.
I am shocked.
Well, the funny thing about Tyler Hoechlin, I like him as an actor. I like how he's portrayed him, but the thing that I have trouble getting past is he's the smallest Superman we've ever had. When you compare him to all the other actors that have come before him, he is small next to all of them, and that makes it takes a bit of believability away for me because of that. Superman's always a very larger than life, stoic symbol of hope, and I just find that he's lacking a little bit in filling that role. So I am curious to see how he does.
They did leak a shot of him in the suit, and the suit is cool.
Is it?
Yes, the new suit looks great.
I haven't seen it yet. Okay, cool. Very, very cool. Well, are we all going to watch it? I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All of it. Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe for Jess.
We'll see how my time commitments go this coming year.
Yeah. Cool. Now, the only other show I have on the radar that actually isn't even on the radar at all is Green Arrow and the Canaries. I don't know if this show is ever coming around. There's not been a single mention of it, a single bit of information at all leaked about the show, which kind of tells me that CW is maybe turning away from the Arrow storyline. The only thing I saw is that Kate McNamara she tweeted something saying, I still want to play this part. I'm keeping in shape. I'm raring to go. I would love to get back to playing Mia Smoke. And that was the only thing. So I have no idea. So do you guys have anything more to add to that? That's as much as I've heard.
Yeah, I saw some real potential, and I agree with you. I read the same thing from her, and there's still a lot of speculation. I think it just hit at a really weird time because of COVID and what they're trying to do, and so I'm hopeful because I liked some of those characters and I could see some potential in exploring things. So, hopefully we can, so we'll see, I really would like to continue in that universe, but we'll see.
Yeah, as would I. I'm missing Arrow and Arrow Squad and just talking about those characters. Yeah, it's sad. And, and my Black Canary, I got to get back to her.
That show was one I was hoping would get picked up, and I think it's dead in the water, unfortunately. That of all of the new stuff rumored and coming, that was the one I for sure would have watched.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
The only other rumor that is out there is Wonder Girl.
I haven't even heard anything about that.
What do you guys know about Wonder Girl?
It's supposedly examining one of the newer characters in the DC universe, who's a Latina dreamer character. She's, come to the U.S. and she's got the ties back, and so I think once again it's going to be a new character, so it is fresh and has a lot of ways to go, and so we'll see if it happens. I think once again maybe they could do a thing where they've got the first half of the year is Stargirl, the second half is Wonder Girl, or vice versa. Kind of a trade off in that time slot if they wanted to do that. So we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing I know about Wonder Girl is it's the younger version of Wonder Woman. So I don't know much more other than that about her. So, I mean, wasn't she on the Teen Titans or one of those cartoons?
The Donna Troy is on Titans, and she's, they're bringing her back for the newest season, and really strong character there. So that's why I think they're moving to this younger character and just a total different one than that, because of how well she's being portrayed over on Titans.
Yeah,
I need to catch up on Titans. I'm behind.
And it's not in our notes, but I just finished with everybody else doing a Swamp Thing rewatch where they've re-aired the Swamp Thing series on the CW. Big time tweeting for people watching the show, people watching it for the first time, people watching it again, and it just makes you really, really wish that we had gotten a second season on that. And, it was all because of money and streaming rights.
Yeah.
It kind of fell in that gap where they didn't have the streaming rights to stuff overseas, and they got into some money trouble. And if that series had come out now, it would be a shoe-in on HBO Max. I'm still hoping that, maybe they can do it. The cast was great. It was a darker series, so kind of like a Constantine series. But like I said, good ratings from what I could see on this rebroadcast. But, I know it was just CW filling airtime, but I think, that's one I would like to see a second season on because of, of who all was involved and the writing was good too. So.
Yeah, I watched the premiere, and I got to finish the show. The premiere I was really impressed with. It was really dark, surprisingly for a DC show like this. It was dark, it was spooky, it had some horror elements to it. I really want to continue that one, and I'll definitely add my thoughts on it later. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Now, what's this last note we got in here about the DC Universe stopping video content of all their originals going to HBO Max? Right.
So basically, we knew this was coming when HBO Max launched because HBO Max, the parent company, AT&T, owns her. And instead of sending a lot of shows that would be, should be on DC Universe, the home of DC, comics, animated movies, TV series, they said, no, we're going to put that on, we're going to put this on HBO Max. And so we could see it coming along. So what they've done is DC Universe is going to become DC Infinite, and it's just going to be comics. And anything is the originals are, for the most part, are going to be on HBO Max with the exception of Stargirl. And so I'm now that that's happened, I'm hopeful that, HBO Max has the streaming rights to Batwoman. They have the streaming rights to Stargirl. They've got the streaming rights to the newer stuff that's aired on the CW, but the existing stuff still falls under Netflix's, contract. So, but I would really like to see all of the DC stuff in one place. So I'm hoping that happens, but that's a lot of streaming rights. So
I wonder if it's because HBO is an established medium for video. I mean, with Game of Thrones and all, they've been around for a while, whereas the DC Universe streaming service is fairly new to the game. So I wonder if moving everything over there, they're hoping to maybe just pick up on all the established viewership there already is.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, a little bit of it is streaming fatigue and too many services.
Exactly.
I just want all the stuff in one place. I want
it all on
they've got it. Well, they've got a hub, on HBO Max for DC stuff. So if you can just put all the movies, everything over there as rights come available, that will be great. But we'll see.
Well,
you can get the Supergirl 1984 film there. I mean, it's high quality entertainment, and you can listen.
It's really, really entertaining for real.
Listen to our Maid of Steel commentary on it. I mean, it is fantastic entertainment.
Well, you know what needs to happen then? You want everything in one spot, Jeff, is you just get Disney to buy HBO. They're buying everything else, and it'll all be on Disney Plus.
Wow, that Disney owning Marvel and DC, that would be interesting.
Crazy.
It's blasphemy. Cannot do this. Come on.
Well, guys, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. We had a very good long visit and hangout and discussion of all the DC universes and the state of where everything is at. This is a lot of fun. There's a lot of good stuff hanging with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I miss our crowdfunding event, so this was great to do.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's all give everyone can have their chance to promo their podcast. If anyone wants to separate from this and check out the regular shows, because I think we'll be releasing this across the board on all our podcast channels. So if you haven't checked out the other podcasts, this is a good time to do it. I'll kick it off. I mean, me and Jess come from Tomorrow's Legends, which covers Legends of Tomorrow and Stargirl. So if you want to check out our coverage for that, do that. John and Justina, what about you guys?
Yeah, we are at Maid, MAID, and you can follow us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Maid of Steel, and you can follow the show on Twitter at SupergirlGSM.
Awesome. Jeff, do you have anything on the go right now?
No, unfortunately not. Castle Rock was not renewed for a third series, and so Wayne and I were kind of looking forward to covering that, but that's not going to happen. So I really like the shorter season, so hopefully we can get something going with that. But you'll hear me giving feedback on Maid of Steel. You'll hear me giving feedback on Legends and helping out behind the scenes as I can. So I'm just enjoying that, and when a good series comes along, I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know you've been giving us some good graphics and some fun pictures for our logos and stuff, so we totally appreciate that. All right, well,
X-Force is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That's all I got for us tonight, guys. We will talk to you guys all soon in the new year, so I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody out there. Be safe, have a good holiday, and we're all coming back the new year as these shows just start being aired again, and the podcasts begin up again as well. So right now, me and Jess are doing a season 2 rewatch of Legends of Tomorrow, so if you're interested in that, you can catch up to us. We're halfway through, I think. Almost halfway.
Almost, yeah. We're at the crossover, so.
We're at the crossover, you're right. Yeah. Awesome, guys. That's all I got. Everyone can sign off. I will start. This is The Flash. Talk to you guys soon.
This is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is Ryan the Sky Green Butterfly. Stay safe. Happy New Year, everyone.
I am John, a.k.a. the Silver Vox. She is Georgia, a.k.a. K-Vox. We'll see you guys next time.
And this is X-Force 11 signing out.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.